Farmers today are facing rising costs, volatile markets, and extreme weather. The A Better Way to Farm podcast digs into strategies to help you take control of farm inputs and maximize profit so your farm can thrive for generations. Remember to take advantage of our free resources at abetterwaytofarm.com. Now, from America's Heartland, here's your host.
We just want to say here at the A Better Way to Farm team, we are very glad that you are trusting us with just a little bitty part of your day. So guys, this is Sam Shanks. I've been a member of the A Better Way to Farm team now for 5 years, and maybe you've heard my story as a grower, but also my favorite part about being a part of the A Better Way to Farm team is getting to meet and getting to talk with different growers all across the country and to get to learn from their experiences and grow together, because we truly believe that the community that we have is one of the best things about the team. And when we learn from each other and grow together, we really come out ahead. And guys, we have an opportunity to do that right now. And I am very, very excited because I get to talk to a very good friend of ours. He's been a member of the A Better Way to Farm team for a little over a year, farmed some crops that maybe not all of us are familiar with, but some of us are, from the northern region. And so I'm really excited to get the opportunity to talk with and to learn from our good friend, Darrell. Thank you for being on. How are we doing today?
Thanks for having me. Oh, I'm doing great.
Awesome. Well, I'll tell you, just to give the people some context, your commitment to the team, you're in a nice little sunshiny area. Do you want to tell us where you're sitting at right now, Darrell?
Sitting in the Polynesian, just outside of Disney. So
yeah, so that's we appreciate you taking the time, and that's fantastic. So Darrell, just to start off, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, where exactly do you farm, and what different crops are you raising?
So I'm a third generation farm and rancher, more ranching than farming, but we're up in north central North Dakota, just outside of Minot.
So what crops are you growing up there, Darrell?
So currently we grow oats, canola, corn, and beans. A little bit of barley every once in a while.
Okay, yeah, so we got a good diversification of going on and everything like that. And so tell me, so we're up far north. We're up in the Minot, North Dakota area. How long have you been farming in there, Darrell?
Since '07.
Okay, very good. And so tell us a little bit. We're going up further north. We've got a shorter growing season. Obviously, that kind of leads to the diversification of the crops that you're growing. So tell us a little bit, what are your soils like, and what are maybe some challenges or some things that you have to face or overcome in your area?
So we're really fortunate if we can get in about that first week in May. There's occasional times we'll get in that last week in April. And when I say getting in, that's when the frost is off the ground finally, and we're going. Soil temp, it matters, but it doesn't matter to us. We have a time limit. We have to go to get it all in before deadlines. Our soils up there, about half of my farm would be considered under highly erodible. So very, very sand. We're 2 weeks from a drought at any given point, usually.
Sure.
The other part of our land is, it's decent. It's nothing to write home about, but it's decent.
Yep, absolutely. And you're saying that your stuff is highly erodible because of the sands, and there's not really, we were up there for a meeting that we'll talk about here a little bit up in your guys' area, but I mean, it's pretty flat in your area. I mean, is that correct, or do you have some hills and topography as well?
Just a couple hills, but mainly it's flat. It's straight back and forth, one end to the other. You're going around little blowouts that have water in them, but that's it. You might lose a foot or two of elevation from one end of the field to the other.
For sure. So. Yep. Very good. And so, so we've got that sandier texture, learning how to manage it and everything like that. So I want to talk a little bit about exactly how you have been managing your farm, and then we'll kind of get into some of the things that we're looking at going forward. But really kind of in general, what did your system look like before you joined the team?
So we're pretty much strictly no-till. We plant right into untouched soil. It doesn't matter what crop it is, we're going straight in. We don't work anything out front. Our fertility program has been more of a blow and go for quite a few years now. We kind of went away from anhydrous probably about 5-6 years ago. Went to just mix it all together in a spreader and go, and come with the seeder right behind it. That's
very good. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's something we see that a lot with different growers who have made the commitment to no-till, and especially it sounds like for you guys, the no-till is necessary. Otherwise, we're going to be losing way too much topsoil, which we have to avoid. But really understanding how the nutrients move and how that phosphorus and potassium that we broadcast over the top, we want to make sure that we know that phosphorus moves about a tenth an inch a year without tillage. So we want to make sure that we're making the proper fertility decisions when it comes to that. So your guys' fertility and nutrition decisions, was it, did it vary year to year, or was it more based off of crop removal, or how were some of those decisions made, Darrell?
Mainly off of crop removal. We have flat ground, but we variable rate everything.
Sure.
We have been variable rating everything. We're going back to a flat rate, but we've been variable rating, so we soil test each zone and treat each zone of the field differently. We probably got 7 different land types per quarter at times, so there's a lot of variability out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with that management decisions, were you kind of getting ahead the way that you were wanting to, or were you spinning your wheels in some scenarios, or what was that looking like for you guys?
Sure seems like we're spinning our wheels. We've seen some good because of pushing the better ground better. Pulling back on the fertilizer on the poor ground didn't hurt us, which was kind of like a red flag. Like if it's only raising 60 bushel and we're fertilizing it for 100 and it only raises 60, and then we back it up to 50 or 40 bushel fertilizing, we're still getting 60. So that was like the first red flag of like, well, okay, something's not right there.
Yeah, so something is telling you that what's contributing to yield and contributing to the yield gains is not a direct correlation with strictly the amount of pounds of fertilizer. Okay, so tell me, Darrell, was that kind of one of the first things that really got you guys started to look for a better direction, or look for maybe something else to dive a little bit deeper?
It really got me thinking a lot, and yeah, we were trying some different things, and then everybody gets bored in the middle of the night and is watching Facebook Reels, and I've been watching A Better Way to Farm for a while, and then Rod had one, and it just struck home. It was along the lines of, do you use the same farm equipment that you used in 1965? Well, no. And it continued on, and it says, why do you still use the same fertilizer that your grandpa did in 1965? And I'm like, well, that's what made my decision to contact and went to a pro ag.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we appreciate that. We're certainly glad that you did. And so was it that? So there's a big difference that we see quite a bit just like what you were saying about that video that Rod shot. When we look at different things just simply from a logical standpoint, it's not that the soil fertility hasn't changed, but are we learning more? Do we know more about nutrient tie-up? Do we know more about plant availability and different things like that? And what are these studies that we're basing these decisions off of? And so by being able to going forward in a new, more difficult environment that us as farmers are facing, we need to make sure that our fertility program is absolutely keeping up to pace, that we know that what we're doing gives us that best chance of a return. Okay, so you find us on social media like so many of us do, and then you reached out and you made that decision to go to a pro ag, which again, we're very glad you did. But I want to talk because we've got a lot of people who love watching our content, get a great amount of value from it, which we're appreciative of it. But making that jump from saying, you know what, I think this is enough to where we are going to invest maybe a little bit in ourselves and go attend a fundamentals of agronomy. First off, which one did you attend? Which fundamentals of agronomy did you go to? And what really pushed you to say, I think this is something I need to go to?
So I guess what pushed me to do it is I was talking to my wife and was explaining to her these things, and like, I don't know, it's just something intrigues me. I want to go learn something about this. The dates closer to us didn't work, and probably a little procrastination on my end. And finally I said, well, if I'm going to go, the only one left was Omaha. So I booked a flight and flew to Omaha and went to the very last one that you guys had in the spring of 25.
Yes, absolutely. And we just want to, and that, I mean, that's a commitment, Darrell, to say, because we talk to so many people, and if maybe they've missed the first one or they've missed the one that's home, and they say, there's always next year. But if we think of the amount of opportunity and how much can change in 1 year's time, I mean, to be able to make that commitment to yourself and to your guys' farming operation it's very commendable. And so you go there. People say it's like drinking from a fire hose, right? There's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole lot of information. But what are some of the big takeaways that you maybe took out that really stuck out to you?
I think number one was the amplified and the sugar. Those were huge. All the micronutrients, I've always been intrigued on it. We did do some micronutrient work with one variable rate guy we had many years ago, but we ended up going back to the other system. And that stuff intrigues me because I think when I look at our soil test, is some of them areas are very bad. So it was that. And you're exactly correct. It is like drinking from a fire hose. You're not going to be able to absorb it all the first time. You just not. Just take some fine points. And that's what we did. We went home and we just did a trial on a few fields.
Excellent. So now I'd love to, that was a really good segue, Darrell, because I'd like to talk about that now. So you go home and we say that, it's the saying knowledge is power, but we always I contradict that. Applied knowledge is power. If we just learn a bunch and we go home and we don't change anything, well, now we have we're going to be spinning our wheels and nothing's going to change. What can we expect? And so really, what were some of the first things you get back from Omaha? What are the next steps? What are some things that you immediately implemented on your operation?
So the first thing I did was we bought a liquid in-furrow system for our planter. I got special spray nozzles for my John Deere sprayer and just kind of got ramped up to start with doing our tests.
Awesome. I want to be clear here because you left. That was the last, and so that Omaha Pro Ag, that was about in March, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So this reminds me, I wasn't quite the same, but when we joined, it was mid-February, and we were set up for none of it. But we always say, don't let what you can't do hold you back from what you can do. And so this is a mindset thing to where it's like, we're going to do this, we're going to jump in, and it's not too late. And if you're listening to this podcast, whenever this drops, guys, we still got a good amount of time, and we still have some great fundamental of agronomy opportunities to come to and to attend. So, okay. And so then you're able to apply the in-furrow. And then were you just guessing about what to put on with that, or did you have a little bit of a plan?
So we had a soil test from AgVice, and we kind of converted from AgVice to Midwest Labs test a little bit. But as soon as the ground was thawed, we hurry up and stuck a new test on a couple fields and sent to Midwest Labs to get to make sure that everything we were seeing was correct. We kind of had to set up the seeding in-furrow off of the AgVice, and then we did the foliar feeding off the Midwest ones.
Yes. Yep. And now we're going strictly with the Midwest Labs. And guys, and for everyone who's listening, I want to make that distinction that different labs have different extraction methods, they have different equipment, and they just have different processes. And so we get that question a lot here on the team. Can I just use any old soil test? Guys, we want to make sure that we're getting all of you the best information possible to get that best chance of return on our investment. And we know without a doubt that Midwest Labs is the way to go to. It's the way to go. It's why we've partnered with them. And so by being able to do that with whatever it takes is definitely going to be the best thing to set us up for success. Okay, so we're off and we're growing, right? We've got the in-furrow and different things like that. And so how did the crop progress throughout the year? What differences did you notice? Any differences, I guess?
So our biggest difference that we noticed was on the Amplified D. I couldn't get enough Amplified D, but Matt had a couple jugs he sent me, and we did 8 rows on the end of our planter, on a 24-row planter. And from day one, you could see a difference in that corn plant. And at times in July, I took some buddies out there and just said, "Here, what do you see?" And they're standing there going, "Well, we're 2 to 4 leaves ahead of on the Amplified D as we are the rest." And then you could just look down the row and see the more consistent population. And I think that correlates back to our cold soils in the spring. Yes. We can't get out and get going properly, so that jump starts the whole system right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad. I mean, it's a Beck's PFR proven product, but yeah, that is the whole point of that, is to overcome stressful planting conditions. And I don't know about you, but I've definitely had some stressful planting conditions. And so by being able to have that at under a $3 per acre investment, I mean, that's a big deal to get off and to get a good start, because, our nutrients, we know they become available in the soil at about 65 degrees. Well, geez, Darrell, up there, how long does it take your soils to get to 65 degrees?
We're pushing real close to July a lot of years before we're getting that high.
100%. Yep. So what are we doing to stem that in between? And by utilizing the system, getting off to a good start, plants available. This is, yeah, fantastic, fantastic. So now we know that not everything is always sunshine and rainbows when it comes to different things that are going on with our farming abilities. I guess what I'm trying to say is there's adversity, even if we set ourselves up for the best shot possible. We find ourselves facing adversity. So we had something that happened to your corn crop that you were managing with the system about. You were telling me about 25 days before maturity. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what that was?
Correct. We had a hailstorm go through. Didn't take out a very wide path, but got about a couple quarters corn, some canola, but it stripped every leaf. Not a leaf left. It actually broke kernels in the cob. It was a pretty good one for that time of the year for us, especially. So we lost our whole sugar factory at that point.
Yes.
With 20 some days to go in northern North Dakota. That's a lot of GDUs right there to help finish.
Yes, without a doubt. We know with a lot of these corn hybrids how much yield is really packed on when it comes to these later maturity, and by being able to allow that plant to dry down and not to die down and to fill that grain. So what'd you do with it? Did you plow it under? Did you take it to yield?
We took it to harvest. That field, I had another field that was treated the normal way right next to it. But that field that was treated with your products, the stalk and the cob stayed grass green until the very day it froze. It tried to live through it. It did. The other field, 10, 15 days later, was brown. It gave up. This tried to live. It tried to keep going. It knew it had more to go. So
yeah, and it had the horsepower to do that. And so, Darrell, just like when it comes to plant health, I mean, those plants kept trying to stay alive when it was under extreme stress. And everything we do here at A Better Way to Farm, we are very driven to, if it's a drought or if it's a flood or if it's a hailstorm or disease that came in. We got southern rust really bad in our area this year. There's only so much we can do, but we want to do everything that we can in our control to hedge our bets and to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for the best chance of success, to where weather's the only limiting factor. And so in nature, the disease, the weak ones always go first. And so you're telling me, and you're saying what you're observing is that, hey, that plant, it stayed healthy, it had more to go. And was there, I mean, if you took it to harvest, was there a yield difference between the two systems, did you see?
correct, I did. It wasn't a lot of difference, but it was enough to make me feel confident. It was between them two fields, same variety, was 6 bushels is all. The other plant or the other field completely just browned up and gave up. This one was still green, trying to go. If we had them leaves, I think potential could have been really there, big time.
Yeah.
But that field still ran better than my average across the farm last year.
Okay, so the field that got hailed out, 25 days stripped, 25 days before maturity, still yielded better than what your average was last year before the system.
Correct.
Amazing.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Interesting. Just some little things that we can look at and pick up that gets us excited for going forward. And so now that was the hailstorm story, but you also told me a good story that often the best time that we learn such things are when we just go out and try something and we don't really have a plan for it, And so we all know how that works around the farm. And so you kind of had a situation like that with a canola field of yours and maybe some foliar feeding. So why don't you dive into that a little bit?
Correct. I foliar fed my silage corn at home, and I got done at the field and I had like 150 or 200 gallons left. And I'm like, well, I didn't really want to drive all the way. I had to go quite a ways to hit in a different field. So we had a canola field that was just starting to bolt, just starting to bloom like a mile away. And there's like 8 tree rows in that field. I'm like, well, I'm going to go try it on that. And I went to there's one field, it's big sand ridge in it. It's the poorest field on the whole half section by a lot. And I'm like, well, I'm going to try it on this and see what happens. Here's going to be my truest test. Maybe this field will just run the same as the rest of it. This was my thought. When we got done, we took it to harvest. I had a buddy combining with me, and I was just going around tree row to tree row, and I was opening each field for him. He was just doing straight up and down rounds. I hit that tree row, and I called him, and I said, well, I see a difference on my monitor and in my hopper. You let me know if you find it. I'm a couple tree rows from him. He didn't know where I was for sure. Hour or two later, he calls and says, I think I found it. I said, what are you finding? Well, finding about 12 bushel an acre more on canola. But he goes, but the bigger thing I find is I was making 2 rounds each time and dumping, and now I can't make a round and a half.
Yep.
And I said, okay, that's exactly what I seen on a just shoot from the hip foliar feed that was intended for corn on a canola plant. It was quite impressive what it did.
Awesome. Yeah. So the one foliar feed get you 12 bushels on the canola. And now that's where we go to work, right? And see exactly what you applied, when you applied it. Now, how can we replicate that across all of our acres?
Exactly.
Which is what we're going to be doing going forward. But that's cool just to be able to see in the different, and some of the, and we had a small grains meeting up there in Minot in the summer, and we were learning just a little bit about canola and some different things like that. And there's something that was really interesting. We always say for corn, we like to shoot to about a 10-to-1 ratio of nitrogen to sulfur, but with canola, it really had a much higher sulfur requirement. Looking at when you got to the reproductive, almost 4-to-1. And so just some things that we can do, maybe even just a little bit of plant available sulfur, or maybe you're looking at some AMS, just some things to where we can really custom tailor a nutrition plan to that plant to help maximize the nutrition. So awesome. Well, Darrell, I appreciate you taking the time. I really appreciate you sharing some insights. And just if you wouldn't mind, what would we've got a bunch of growers here, who farming's tough right now. I mean, farming's always difficult. It has adversities, but it stinks right now. And it seems like everything is piled up against it. We want to keep going, but we're not really sure what to turn to next. So I guess if you got a farmer who's stuck, not knowing where to turn to, what would you say to him?
Test something. And it doesn't have to be the whole farm. Just test a few acres. See it for yourself. The proof is there. That's all I did. Do I wish I would have done the whole farm? Yes. But that test proved it to me that this is the right direction to go.
Awesome.
Doesn't matter what crop you're on. I think you're always going to see it will pay you back.
Yes, absolutely. And so you're saying too, it doesn't matter what crop, you're up in Minot, North Dakota, I'm in Northern Iowa, different soil types. We've got growers in New York and all the way down to Mississippi. Do you think that the system is going to work on different soil types, or is it just kind of only for a certain region?
So I would have said previous that the poorer soil maybe would work better. But after being to a couple pro eggs and looking at other people's soil test data, and I'm like, well, maybe there is no such thing as the perfect soil in the United States. I think everybody needs to work on it, and it's not what you think of the NP and K. It's always a micronutrient that's off. That's your holdup.
Your limiting factor. Yeah,
correct.
Absolutely. I'm grateful that you said that, because so many of us, we want that perfect soil, but there really is no perfect soil. And we want to change it and fix it, right? Because that's what we are. We're farmers. We want to improve things. We want to fix things. We're fixers. But the real question for survival is, how do you farm around it? Because the base, the magnesium, all of that stuff, we can be fighting that and it'll drain our pocketbooks. We can fight that our whole lives. But the real secret to the successful farmers that we know that we're doing is that we go out there and we're able to farm the hand that we have been dealt, and to really maximize our chance of a return on our investment. So just in closing here, Darrell, and they're thinking maybe I should reach out, or maybe this is just another one of those podcasts that's just clogging up my brain waves, and they're a little hesitant. What would you say to them about reaching out?
Reach out, go to a pro ag, invest in yourself, not the fertilizer company. That's what approach I've taken, is I'd rather invest in myself, and I think it's done me a lot of good.
Invest in yourself and not the fertilizer company. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think I can say that any better. That is an excellent note that I would like to leave it on. And so, guys, as always, we thank you so very much for taking the time to tune in and listen. And so we are grateful for every single one of you, and that we are able to be a little bitty part of your guys' life. And so until next time, as always, we hope you're having a better day.